Welcome, lovely friends. This is Yarnchix podcast number 30. And my name is Mimi. I podcast about knitting, about sewing, about all sorts of projects for children and adults. It's a very community-oriented podcast and comes to you from Berlin, Wedding. That is why my podcast is called Yarnchix. Let's begin with that. And my Instagram account is called Liebeswedding or Liebwed, which is an abbreviation of that, because I wanted to celebrate where I come from and where I write and live and make things. So Marie, my rescue dog, and me say welcome to this corner of YouTube, and we hope you find something interesting in the next 30-40 minutes of my podcast. Make sure you have a nice drink and maybe some crafting ready, and let's spend some time together. At the end of the podcast, there's always a tarot knit oracle and a knit reportage. This time the knit reportage is about my visit to Breidagen in Amsterdam. Have fun! Say hello. Hello. She knows what's up. So in that little close-up you would have seen a couple of the things that I am gonna present today. That is always how my intro is. I kind of show a close-up of what has happened in the podcast, or what kind of items will have come up, just so that you have a bit of a visual glimpse of what's to come. Most importantly, and that's maybe why I will have some new viewers. Hello! It's the beginning of the linomukakal, and we have run a giveaway, which is amazing. We is Wollen Berlin and me, Liebwed. We have 2 Instagram accounts, and Ruta of Wollen Berlin has a wool shop in Friedrichshain, and we teamed up to knit the Mount Pleasant tee, which I'm wearing in black, so you won't be really able to see all the details, but I'll insert some of the photographs of this finished object so that you can see what I'm talking about. And we're giving away the amount of linen from Ruta's shop, Ruta's own linen yarn, Lino Muka, to knit this, a pair of needles and the lovely linen pin that Wollen Berlin has recently launched. And all that together with a digital copy of the pattern for the Mount Pleasant tee, which Megan who is Pip and Pin and the designer of this amazing boxy, lacy summer top, she's kindly sponsored our giveaway. So yesterday in the morning I recorded the actual prize draw. It's all live on camera. So 340 valid entries to our giveaway. So watch this little clip to show. I was sat at the computer, so I filmed the whole process using random numbers and drawing a winner for our Lino Muka I kickoff launch day giveaway. Have a look. this is the page that I use for the giveaway random number generator. So here I would have to add in, I'm gonna double check you can actually see that. Sorry about that. Yes, you can. And I'm gonna zoom in once I actually vote. So here, number 1 till 340, that's the amount. So there you go, you see I've entered 1 for the first lottery ticket and 340 for the last lottery ticket of our Lino Muka giveaway. So I'm gonna say generate. 305 is the number of the winner in the list, which you will see here now. I'm gonna put it so you can see that. 305. So now I've brought you closer. See, number 305 is Colorful Flower. And this is again what the random.org number generator has shown, number 305. And the winner is Sabina, whose Instagram account is called Colorful Flower. Congratulations! Congratulations, Colorful Flower, you have won the giveaway. We will be in touch with you and you will receive the pattern via Ravelry, which will be like your digital copy, and then some post from us in Berlin, which we're gonna get ready and packed up for you ASAP so that we can get started on the knit along. So that's it. Congratulations, Sabina. I'm very happy that you have won and that so many people joined in. I hope that a lot of linen tops or scarves or shawls or sweaters will be knitted this summer. I'm gonna be very busy knitting mine. I have chosen this amazing color, which is called Vintage Green, and I really love that it is just a lighter version of the same top, and I can't wait to cast on today because I'm recording this on Tuesday, so the podcast will go up on Wednesday. Today is the 5th of June, so this is the kickoff of our knit along, and I will be also using my Chiago needles that I love dearly. And I will cast on the lace part of the Mount Pleasant tee in 2.5 and then knit the rest of the sweater in a 2.75. So I'm very excited. I've got 5 skeins of Lino Muka, which should be enough for the size that I've chosen. This was the second size. So today I've decided, this time, I've decided to knit the Mount Pleasant tee in size number 3 because I want it to be slightly boxier and looser, and you will see in the pattern photographs this is an amazing summer top and would usually take around 1.5 skeins of sort of fingering weight yarn, but for summer this linen is really perfect. So thank you so much, Ruta, for sponsoring me with your Lino Muka so that I can knit this top again for me in summer, and it's going to be so much fun to host the knit along together with Ruta, who is also knitting hers. I already saw the color she chose, which is a dark grey, which is amazing. I think it'll be really lovely. And I know some people who I met at Breidagen also gonna start knitting, and I saw their amazing colors, or helped choose, or they chose them whilst I was there. So obviously these kind of knit along ideas don't just happen in an empty space. We always have people inspiring us, or well, we always inspire each other in the knitting community. So a lot of the linomukakal was basically triggered by my friends Maike and Lieke, who were definitely like, oh, we want to knit that top you're wearing, the Mount Pleasant tee would be lovely. And yeah, so it was so much fun to look through colours, and thank you so much for being my friends and inspiring me. and Ruta to say, yes, okay, it's finally time to host a knit along together and let's do it over the summer. Because we're also hosting a little boat trip as the end of the knit along, which we haven't really announced that is the end of our knit along, but we'll be trying to make our summer tops until the 24th of August, which is the day of the Liebes Wollen Ahoy boat tour. I can't believe it. We've hired our own little boat and we'll go on Berlin waters and cruise around. It's a way of celebrating summer and knitting with our friends for the Liebes Wedding Strickt knit circle, which is the wedding knit circle that is kind of like a community of knitters that gather in Wedding. And the Wollen Berlin kind of knit circle that goes there regularly. In summer there is one meetup per month, so this will be like the summer party. There's always a summer party with a little wool swap, so that is what's going to happen on the boat this time. And I will giving a little mini workshop, which I'm also excited about. I will share on the understanding and learning of the Portuguese knitting style, which I've learned of my friend Kat when I visited her in Portugal, and I have really appreciated learning this technique and will share it with people who do want to learn it. And I hope it's going to be a really lovely cruise and a lovely time spent with friends knitting and hanging out. Okay, that's that for the admin. We've had the prize draw. I told you about the boat tour, so let's go in to the podcast with the classic finished object. So now you would have seen me and the final stages of the Shifty Sweater that I knitted for myself. It's kind of a boxy style. I will put it on, although it is slightly hot, but I will put it on just so that you see what I mean with its boxy shape. See, it's kind of spacious here and boxy. Oh, how do I stretch out? But because what happens with Shifty Sweater, I realized, is I created quite a lot of fabric up here, and I'd originally knitted the size 3 up here, but I did frog back. So when I got to the last increase, I realized, oh my god, I have way too much fabric. So it was really almost like waves across the top here, and so I worked backwards, then reknit without the increase as stated. So downsized, or somehow made it work to go back down to size number 2. From the yellow onwards, I would say it's a size 2. The sleeves are perfect. I like this, and I like this airiness here in the space. So I kind of have a boxy Shifty. I like it. I like it a lot. I knitted my Shifty in Mondim yarn by Rosa Pomar, and there were basically all these like little bits and bobs. I still have some left. Like, this is what's left of the yellow. This is what's left of the orange. And you know, I still have these bits and bobs. And you know, I thought I was making a Shifty Sweater to use up all my yarn ends, and I still have ends. You will see what happens with them next. So I'm super happy with how the sort of rainbow effect came about. And when I was knitting the yellow, I suddenly felt inspired and really wanted to knit blue. And this month I had a bit of a sort of yarn diet, or I kind of decided it's time to reflect when I buy what yarn and why. And so for this sweater I did end up buying these blues, so the sort of lighter blue and this really dark navy blue. I bought 2 balls of yarn because I really wanted this blue in the sweater, and Berlin actually sells Mondim yarn, so I could just walk into a shop and go, ah, this blue, that's it, that's the blue I want. And I did, yeah, so I did splash out on yarn. And then when it came to the ribbing, you will see in the photographs that I've shared at the beginning of the FO clip, or finished object. Sorry, I always abbreviate like a crazy knitter. You might not appreciate that, so I'm trying to be better. So I will have shown a close-up of the sleeve in my finished object clip at the very beginning. And the ribbing on my arm is a really dark purple, which again, I just felt like I wanted to have this effect with my Shifty Sweater. And when I told Ruta, and this was knitted for Breidagen, a bit like a sample, she was like, okay, I will gift you the skein, have it. It's sort of my sponsorship of your sweater, because I was knitting it like crazy for Breidagen. In my clip you would have seen like the sort of weaving in of ends in the car, and a sort of sped up motion clip. I loved having this sweater at Breidagen. It was such a eye-catcher, as you can maybe tell. It's a very loud, colourful sweater, so it got quite a lot of attention, but also I met lots of people through it, and that's really why I go to these kind of festivals. And why I love working for friends like Wollen Berlin and Hey Mama Wolf is because I get to go out there and talk to people and see their work and be inspired and have chats. Breidagen is also the knit reportage at the end of this podcast. I always have a little travel blog vlog at the very end, as well as a tarot knit oracle, which I will dedicate to the Mending Mountain calling hashtag that I've just started. I want to know from my tarot cards, how tall is my mountain and how can I climb it? What tools do I need, or equipment? Should I put on shoes or climb it bare feet? Basically, is my question. I'm going to take this off and then we'll move over to the next lot. Oh. So after sharing about my finished object, this Shifty Sweater, I want to share with you what's on my needles. Guess what? On my needles is a Shifty Sweater. Oh God, I'm sorry. Oh, well, I just can't stop once I knit something and it's sort of embossed its pattern and I enjoy the flow of the stitches that my hands make. Once I am in that flow, I find it really hard to stop and to move on to the next project. Hence, I often knit things twice. People who watch my podcast regularly will have seen me knit things twice often. And yeah, it's happened. It's also happening because I have a lot of yarns still left like this, and the pink is, you know, almost gone. I did buy more blue, so you know, I'm basically carrying on using up my Mondim yarns, and my daughter really liked the Edition 3 shopper, this color. She really liked my Shifty Sweater. And I'd started this sort of smaller version because I wanted a body hugging version like Andrea Mauri, the designer I haven't mentioned. Shifty Sweater is a design by Andrea Maury. Drea Renee knits. Oh, I'm sorry. I know she's not going to watch my podcast, but I'm really sorry that I didn't mention that you designed the Shifty Sweater. The Shifty Sweater is a glorious design. I'm very happy I knitted it. And I'm extra happy that my daughter likes it, because this now will be my daughter's Shifty Sweater. I've shrunk it to pint-sized and we have tried it on. So I changed the stitch count to make it work. It fits. Success. My kids have a lot of issues with wearing wool, and admittedly that makes me upset, sad, not knit for them as much as I wish, because maybe the things I have knitted for them won't be worn, and that kind of a conflict. However, the inside being so loopy means it doesn't actually touch their skin, so it's much more itch resistant. Every year over summer I host the Magic 3 Mile Make-Along, and this will be the sweater I'm knitting for my daughter as part of that. So as you can tell, I have to knit the body and the sleeves. It's kind of, as I know the pattern kind of off by heart now, it's kind of flowing really nicely. And I'm going to show you the drawing I made for her set and film a little clip whilst I sort out my camera that's playing up. Hooray. Well, now it seems to be okay. So one of the skeins I did purchase now from Wolln Berlin is the Englischer Garten colored Zauberball Edition Nummer 3, Edition 3, which is 100% merino. This is exactly her kind of color scheme. She liked that part of my sweater that was blue with this in the background. I'd had this leftover also gifted to me by Uta and used it in the big sweater, so I kind of like that my daughter decided on this color and that she wanted it. And I've run out of the wool that Uta shared with me of her leftovers from knitting the night shift shawl. So I bought one skein to make this whole sweater with my leftovers. I think that is a good skeins I did purchase now from Wolln Berlin is the Englischer Garten colored Zauberball Edition Nummer 3, Edition 3, which is 100% merino. This is exactly her kind of color scheme. She liked that part of my sweater that was blue with this in the background. I'd had this leftover also gifted to me by Uta and used it in the big sweater, so I kind of like that my daughter decided on this color and that she wanted it. And I've run out of the wool that Uta shared with me of her leftovers from knitting the night shift shawl. So I bought one skein to make this whole sweater with my leftovers. I think that is a good balance of using up stash and adding the odd ball of yarn to make it, you know, the perfect thing for my child. So I think that is how I am moving with my stash at the moment. I kind of enjoy stash busting on this kind of level of reflection, of going, what do I want to knit and what do I have? Can I use my stash? And that is also with all the amazing knit inspiration that's flowing about all over, and my Magic 3 make along makes that I'm planning. It really makes sense for me to go into the stash, especially with my kids' projects. They're smaller projects, which is how this whole Magic 3 make along came about, was the thinking that across the summer it's actually quite nice to have smaller projects on your lap, not getting like into such big projects like a sweater or cardigan or a big winter coat. But to knit smaller things, making sets of 3 where we knit a top, some bottoms, and make a toy. And I say knit, but I mean we can sew, we can crochet. All crafts are welcome in this make along, and there is already several amazing makes and sets in the thread, which I have also filmed when I had the computer at the computer. I filmed some of our Magic 3 Mal feed so that you could see our makes that have popped up and already finished sets. I can't believe the first month of the make along has already passed, and there is about 2 more. So June, July and August. We finish on the 1st of September. There's 3 more months to the make along, so plenty of time to complete your makes or think about them first and then create them. So I showed you the drawing that I made for my daughter, where you can see the Shifty Sweater, and I haven't added in the colors yet because I want her to choose. And I am sewing her a pair of shorts or a dress. I have to talk to her about that. I'm using jersey. I guess it's gonna be shorts because that's what she wears daily, especially in summer. And she has a pair of jersey shorts that I could try and sort of draft the shorts that I want to make for her from. They'll definitely need pockets. She's a bit of a treasure hunter. And a kind of loose waistband that you tie maybe with an I-cord or something. So I'm kind of still processing that bit. But that's what I like the Magic 3 Mal for. It's kind of a long process where you can have these ideas of sets and then you sort of make them work. And the toy part is actually a cushion, which is an adaptation of Katie Greenbeans, not Katie Greenbeans, but that's her Instagram account, but Katie's Oystercatcher cushion, which is in her amazing Greenbean Zine. There's this pattern which I absolutely love. It uses this amazing applique design, and I'm gonna change that a little bit to make it a bit more woolly hen nest and chick, to sort of reflect my mother-daughter story. And I'm very excited to both felt some of the eggs and use some applique stitch and grow a couple of new skills. Definitely also overcome some of my sewing fears and make a cushion for her or for our family. I mean, it's a cushion, it's gonna sit on this sofa, so it's like everybody gets a bit of fun. I really love the Greenbean zine. Zines are my thing. I create the Yarnchix zine, and Katie generously illustrated the centerfold for the last issue number 5 of the Yarnchix zine. So I was extra happy when I managed to buy the zine directly of her at EYF, and yeah, all the projects in there are on my to make list, but this is the first one I will tackle slowly and, you know, with time and no pressure, because I don't like kind of pressured makes. I do like a bit of a deadline, but I don't like it to rush at me like a I don't know, like a fast train or so I'm excited to make that as part of our Magic 3 make along, and to take it slow and finish the Shifty slowly, but also start new things. So these are the couple of finished sets that we have on the feed. And our chatter thread is going strong. Look at Fran and her wool and the doll she made, and a Winston growing, leftover project, a sort of scarf by Raquel. Isn't it lovely? So that's that set. But because I'm on the sort of Magic 3 mile flow, and you'll just have to bear with me, there is one last drawing, and then I will show you the flat lay of this. And this is like a hypothetical, not yet cast on, definitely got the yarn, but not decided for whom it is. But I'm gonna knit the flax sweater with a contrasting red ribbon in this really dark black. It's an alpaca wool blend by Woolcut Yarns, and I've mentioned them before. It's amazing stash, it needs to shine. And I really love Carmen's brand and the yarn and its softness, and it's definitely my children's kind of taste of soft. So it will be knitted. And when I was in London with my friend Mimi visiting Wild and Woolly shop, with, you know, where I sort of met up with Anna of the Wild and Woolly shop, V, who was working in, I think she works there on Sundays, was knitting these amazing mittens, or mitts. They're called Fighting Words mitts, and I've sort of drawn orangey red version that I want to make for my daughter, because she actually brought them out of her bag because my daughter was wearing her wow sweater, which has got like this sort of big, very similar kind of graphic wow written on her sweater. And I think V was very happy to show her the little mitt, saying, look, it's the same style. So I felt very inspired and bought the pattern on Ravelry. That is one of the expenses this month. So the skein of edition 3 I bought yesterday, so it was in June, but in May I definitely splashed out on patterns. I didn't buy any yarn or other materials in May because I was taking part in the Less is More May, but I did buy some patterns. For me, obviously, I'm still in a kind of privileged position. That's what I want to say. I do buy materials, I do spend my money whenever I have some left, or when I get support by people buying my zine, or, you know, I do spend my money on material that I stash, and that is a privilege to have a stash of material to go back to. And I think it is also a bit of my duty now to knit from it, to produce from it, and to make also the work of the people who have potentially hand dyed these yarns or hand spun them, to celebrate their product even further, and kind of not just sort of take it to own it, but make it to celebrate it and share again. Because part of my podcast is me sharing about what I do, and I hope to always kind of have a communication about it, to enhance products or brands. It's often one women shows or small companies, women and men. But anyway, small businesses that I want to support and whose work and efforts I cherish. And so by using up their amazing yarns or fabrics or whatever, I again sort of share about it and show and tell the world, this small little part of YouTube land, about what I like and why I like it. So here I am committing to the sort of stash, unearthing and making. In my recent Patreon special podcast, I spoke about one of the yarns from EYF, and I will carry on talking about yarns. Today, however, I do not feel like talking about yarns. I feel like talking about fabrics and my sewing and my upcycling, because I have a mending mountain and I do not only have yarn as material, I have ancient stashed bits of fabric that I would have bought, you know, a long time ago, bits that might only be this small. But if there's one thing I've learned from Erica Eccles Lisa, who is my patchwork queen, that I learn a lot from, is, you know, this is a big piece of fabric. I used to think, oh my god, it's just a scrap. It is a lot of fabric if you consider quilt making. And I'm gonna use fabrics like these two. This is kind of my color base, and the teacups and teapot and that kind of, I don't know, just prints and fabrics. I'm gonna mix up to make a toile dress where I use bits and bobs and I sort of patchwork a fabric that I will then sew the hinterland dress with. There's a little hinterland sew along in secret. If anyone's interested, please pop a comment below and I'll add you to that chatter group on Instagram, because I need to learn. I kind of need the help of this sort of hub of makers, and I need conversations, and I want to also make mistakes and maybe others to be able to learn from my mistakes, because heck yes, I always do some unpicking when I sew. So I'm going to be not so precious yet creative with these bits and bobs of fabric to celebrate Hadley and her amazing fashion style and makes, and make one for myself. I'm excited about using her inspiration and making a hinterland dress in that way. Hadley's account connection here, because I'm not going to be able to edit in any images of her work right now, because I want to get this with the sort of material I film, get this podcast off to you and edit. But I feel very inspired, and I spoke to her. I asked her, do you mind if I use sort of stash fabrics and create a dress for myself, not for sale, just for myself, in the style of your makes? And she was like, hell yeah, we all should be stash busting and using up and recycling, so you go girl. And I was like, oh, thank you, because that had been a bit of a holdback for me, that I felt like I was copying her style, because I feel very inspired by her makes, and not, you know, I hadn't yet approached her with my plan to make this, but wanted to make sure she agreed. It's something that's very, like, the core of my practice is I do not like to citate or steal creatively from others, but if I feel inspired, I want to have that conversation with the person who's inspiring me. Which is also how the communication with Zara Lazarevich happened. She is an illustrator and she created this. I'm going to show you. She created the hierarchy of needs for the Fashion Revolution zine as an illustration. And you would have seen me stitch this for my daughter last year, and I'm making it again on a coat for myself. And I didn't do it without talking to her and knowing that she's into the idea of her illustration traveling the world on little bodies, like this sweater that I made for my daughter. She's actually extremely lovely. We share the love for one specific flea market in this world. So our connection and chat about this flea market has brought us even closer, which I kind of love. And I go there often. I went there this summer already, so I'm excited to embroider the same illustration, the hierarchy of needs, onto the back of a hand-me-down coat or jacket that a friend of mine gave me when she stopped wearing it and she saw mine was torn. Which was nice, you know. It's a generous gift of understanding that I cannot just go out and buy a coat. That's just not the kind of money I have in this world. I might be spending a lot of money on materials, but that's slightly on the edge of what's actually possible. So the whole drive of upcycling, hand-me-downs, second-hand, for me is not only connected to what we're saying there, and then the camera cut out, is that for me it's not only a budget issue why I decided now to mend or to actually consider my stash as a privilege and use it and celebrate it. It's also a way of reflecting the necessary change, considering planet Earth, the resources we have, climate change, and the effect that, you know, potentially ordering something in the US and having it sent across the oceans, or the effect of things that might not have been produced fairly or earth-friendly have, and to be considerate of my materials and of materials like cotton, you know. Have they been produced with the workers' rights in mind? Have people suffered in order for me to be able to craft? And these are reflections that I'm now telling the camera very close up because they matter a lot to me. So whilst all this is fun and exciting and creative, there is a background story to all the materials we touch. Let us reflect that. And this is not me being like, you should too. I'm saying I'm starting with myself, and I hope you enjoy the process of me reflecting this. So I will now carry on talking about my mending projects. I hope you enjoyed that kind of new but always undercurrent part of my podcast, where I have struggled, I have succeeded, and I have unearthed some new treasures. Mending that I have unearthed, I have already shared in the last episode, so I wanted to give you a bit of an update. With this jacket that has been in my mending piles for about 7 years now, it's really suffered a little bit. It's a bit too dark, so I'm gonna lay it down on the floor later and show you what has happened here, and for you to see the amazing texture of this woven fabric is so here is the sleeve that's attached, but I've taken one sleeve off, hence it's a bit frilly, so I need to kind of, you know, I'm gonna pin it inwards and see what it looks like, because I want it to be a sleeveless little top that still has these buttons and the little collar, but no sleeves, a sleeveless of summer top. I'll see if it's too warm. I'm gonna give it a bit of a trial run. So I've also taken off this faux pocket on this side. You will still see these two buttons. They are part of a faux pocket that I've unpicked. So I've basically just taken my unpicker to it, and that was the start. There's a couple of holes where it actually tore under the arm because the fabric was wearing out. This is like hand sewn vintage ancient thing. People who obsess about buttonholes, the buttonholes are handmade and amazing. I love them. I'm going to show a little detail. Whatever I'm muttering here, I'm going to show close up. So I'm gonna mend the little holes. I'm gonna really go slow and do flicking or maybe embroidery, and I'm gonna take in and clean up the mess that the unpicking has created. And maybe because I'm gonna unbutton, it has an amazing and very soft cottony lining, but not everywhere. Whoever made this just didn't have enough of that fabric to line the whole coat. So I'm gonna use the lining, however, that I found in the sleeve. In the bottom of the sleeve there's lining. I'm gonna use to line bits where I'm, you know, where I feel like I want to add this fabric because I do like the feel of it. I don't know if it's a silky cotton blend, I don't know. I do like what came out with the sleeve. I will use this fabric, it's not gonna go to waste. But I feel like in this way I'm upgrading something from my mending mountain. I call it a mending mountain and that it's calling me. I will upgrade it, and I'm still cherishing the amazing hand-stitched project it is, but I want to wear it. I feel like I've dishonored it by just leaving it flying about broken and not worn, whereas when I did used to wear this over my big bump with my second child 12 years ago, or say 11.5 years ago, I loved it, and it made me feel nice and happy. So I want to go back to this item and cherish it, because secondhand and hand sewn and with a personal history for me, reminding me of carrying him, and yeah, all of that is of great value, and I think I can only underline it by using my hands to fix it, and using actual hands. I will hand stitch. So another little something I learned from Lisa is that my fear of sewing, especially the sewing machine running away with me, can be countered by slow stitching and stitching my hand and practicing my hand stitching. So yes, Mending Mountain item started, not finished, started. So watch this space for more. I was talking about the hierarchy of needs application stitches that I'm making. Now my dog has fallen asleep on top of the coat. So I will show you some footage, and I won't hold it up right now, right here, and I will film her sleeping on it because it's too cute. But I will leave it at that for my kind of waffly part. You'll see what I've done. I showed you the little thing that I made on my daughter's sweater. So I shared quite a lot of my sewing and mending now. I already shared about Magic 3 Make Along. I will conclude the podcast as usual with a knit reportage, which is my visit to Breidagen, bits and bobs around the festival, people I've met, some photographs I took, some little me times I might have had, or some little chitter and chatter around. So stay around for that, and then at the very end you will have the knit. At the very end you will find the Tarot Knit Oracle, this time how to climb my mending mountain. What do I need to get me going? How will I approach this, you know, quite wonky shape of broken kids' clothes, my own clothes, things that have been handed me handed down to me that I want to mend. How do I approach this? And I hope you stay around for that, because to be honest, tarot is a very interesting, very instinctive way of finding answers or answering questions back that otherwise stay kind of open and float around. And please do check out my Etsy shop for my Yarnchix zine, with other items coming there soon, zines being reprinted. And visit me in all my places. There is the Instagram, Liebed and Yarnchix podcast. There is the Yarnchix podcast group on Ravelry, which I warmly invite anyone who's knitting along with me to go and check out the equivalent threads. There is the Lino Muka I thread, there's the Magic 3 Mile thread, and there is Magic Mama Make thread, and there is a Wixton Harem Pants thread, and so they're sort of sew along, make along little threads. And check out my Patreon page, where you can support me and my work and find much more content and video material, recipes, poetry, photographs, podcasting, tips and tricks, a whole lot of stuff for you. And it's a way for me to fund my creative work, and please consider checking out my Patreon page. I've waffled again. I always do this at the end. I say goodbye and then I go I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and that you have a beautiful day wherever you are, and whatever your plan is for today or tomorrow. Let's keep happily knitting and making and reflecting what we do, how we do it, what materials we use. Thank you so much for your time. Bye bye.